Hi, my name is John. I'm going to be going over Algebra 2, Common Core from Pearson, Chapter 4, Section 6. It's called Completing the Square. So, I'm going to give you some examples to start off with, and we're going to learn to complete the square on this, okay? Here's example number 1. You have x squared minus 10x, let's say. This is an expression. There's no equal sign here, equals something, so therefore this is called an expression, okay? What do I need to complete the square? This is what I'm trying to figure out, this number right over here to complete the square. Well, we take this middle coefficient, the linear coefficient, I divide it by 2. So it's the same thing every single time. You divide it by 2, then square it. That's it. So I take negative 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then I square it, and then with 25. Ooh, 25 plus 25, that's it. Now we're almost done here. We're going to factor this, okay? The way we factor this is I'm going to go drop the x without the squared, x. Drop the sign, and you just take half of 10, which is 5. That's it. And you square it. And that's our answer. This is the coefficient or the constant that needs to be added to complete the square. This is in factor form. If you're not sure about this, let's distribute this out. X minus 5 times x minus 5. You have x squared, which is right here. You have outer, which is minus 5x, minus 5x, minus 10x. Ah, you see that right there? And then plus 25. There it is right there. And so it worked. X minus 5 quantity squared. Let's get another example. Example number 2. What if you have something like this now? X squared plus 6x is equal to 16. This is when a equals 1. What do I mean by when a equals 1? It's the leading coefficient, the number in front right here. That value is 1. Okay, let's see what happens. Well, it's just like the one that we used over here. This one as well. We complete the squared. We go x squared plus 6x plus we complete the square equals, on the right hand side we have 16 plus we add the same amount. We add the same amount to the left, we add the same amount to the right, and these are equivalent. So what happens? We complete the square again. We take this number 6. What I do, I divide it by 2 and then square it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Square it is plus 9, plus 9. Don't forget, I add 9 to the left, I add 9 to the right. Let's complete the square on this, and then let's factor it. You end up with x. Bring down the x without the squared. We drop the sign, plus here, plus here. Half of 6 is 3. Squared equals, if you distribute this out, you will end up with x squared plus 6x plus 9. Right side, 16 plus 9. We add those up, we get 25. Now what do we do? Here at this stage, what we can do is to get rid of the square, we square root both sides. That's the key. When we square root the left side, the square and the square root cancel. You end up with x plus 3 equals, what's the square root of 25? You should know that by now. It should be 5, right? 5 squared is 25. There's a little caveat. You have to put plus or minus 5. If you don't put plus or minus, then you're going to get it wrong. And here's the reason why. If a squared equals, let's say 9, what's the value of a? Well, when you square root both sides, you get a on the left side. Square root of 9 is 3, but you have to put plus or minus. When you square root both sides, you have to put plus or minus. Let's see why that happens. Positive 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 squared is also 9. Oh, so that's why you have to put plus or minus. I wanted to. Let's work this out. X plus 3 equals 5, or, sorry about that. x plus 3 equals negative 5. You have to break it up to plus or minus right there. Then you subtract 3, x equals 2, or x equals minus 3 is negative 8. There you go. That's example number 2. We're going to do 2 more examples. For example 3, I'm going to give you a different problem. They want you to, when you have an equation in standard form, y equals x squared plus 12x plus, let's say, 20 right there. This is standard form. They want you to change it to vertex form. So the first thing we have to do is y equals, or function of x is equal to x squared plus 12x, complete the squared, plus 20, it's the same number. Since we added a number here, we have to subtract the same number because we're on the same side of the equation. Let's see if I got that better. Okay, much better. Again, since we added a number on the right-hand side, we have to subtract the same number on the right-hand side. Let's complete the square on this. We take this number, the coefficient 12, we divide it by 2, which is 6, and then square it. 6 squared is 36. Since we added 36 to the right side, we have to subtract 36 to the right side. And let's see what happens. F of x is equal to, we factored this trinomial now. X, I'm going to give you about 2 seconds to see if you can do this on your own. You can pause it if you want. You drop the sign, it's the same sign, and half of 12 is 6. If you go x squared, we double that, x times 6 is 6x, times 2 is 12x, there it is, and we squared the last one, 36. And then 20 minus 36 is minus 16. That's in vertex form. You will have to know how to do this for your exam as well, so might as well learn it now. What's your vertex? Vertex is going to be the opposite of that, negative 6, comma, and the number which is negative 16. There's your vertex. And they also want you to find the y-intercept. Equals question mark. How do you find the y-intercept? To find the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0. We could have plugged in 0 in here, or we could have plugged in 0 in here. What is f of 0? 0 squared is 0, plus 12 times 0 is 0, plus 20. The constant happens to be your y-intercept. So it's going to be 0, comma, 20. That is your y-intercept. Okay? The last example I'm going to do for you is a little bit tricky. We're going to learn how to do this when the coefficient a is not equal to 1. Let's try another one. Okay. I made up an example on my own. I don't know if it's going to work or not. So let's work on it. Example 4. 2x squared minus 3x plus 7 equals 0. You notice that a does not equal 1 anymore. This value, that's your a value. That's the leading coefficient, does not equal 1 anymore. It's 2 this time. We did the same thing. We have a constant on the right side. We want to move that over first. That's the first thing you want to do. Oh, what we can do is actually we can divide it by 2 to everything first. Divide by 2 to the left, divide by 2 to the right. I end up with x squared minus 3 halves x equals negative 7 halves. Do you notice that what we just did is we moved the 7 halves by subtracting 7 halves to the right side? Now we're going to complete the squared, x squared minus 3 halves x plus something, we don't know what that is, equals minus 7 halves plus something. We add to the left side of the equation. There's an equal sign. We add to the right side of the equation. Okay. We take this number, we divide it by 2. What is 3 halves divided by 2? It's the same thing as 3 halves times 1 half, right? We change the multiplication, reciprocate, 3/4. And then we square it, right? Becomes 9/16. We add 9/16 to the right side as well. We factor the left side, drop the x without the squared, drop the sign. You take 3 halves divided by 2, which is 3/4. Okay, if you distribute this out, you end up with this previous expression on the left. Equals, I'm going to multiply by 8, multiply by 8, equals 7 over 2 plus 9 over 16, multiplied by 8, multiplied by 8. 8 times 7 is negative 56, plus 9 is negative 47 over 16. Negative 56 plus 9. 7 times 8 is 56. And then what do? Square root both sides. On the left side, gets rid of that. Square and the square root, they're inverse operation. X minus 3/4 is equal to plus or minus. How to get rid of the negative? The negative turns out to be an I on the outside, but don't worry about that. Square root of 47 over the square root of 16. Square root of 47 over 4. There's a negative in front. Plus or minus. Negative. Square root of negative 47 all over 4. And what do we do now? We're solving for x. We have to get rid of this minus 3/4. How to get rid of this minus 3/4? We add 3/4. Add 3/4. So finally, x equals 3/4 plus or minus the square root of negative 47 all over 4. We can also combine the like terms. Combine fractions into one single fraction. For the denominator, 3 plus or minus root negative 47. And that's your answer. A little tricky when the coefficient not equal to 1. I suggest not to use completing a square because it's a little bit more difficult. You still can do it though. It's not that hard, and that's how they get the quadratic formula, by the way, which you will learn later on. Good luck on your homework, and if you have any questions, text me or leave a message on my YouTube. Thanks, bye.